Help me to reach 2,000 subscribers. The sound of shattering glass cut through the quiet hum of the kitchen. My hand froze midair, coffee mug still trembling between my fingers as I stared at the phone lying on the counter. The screen was lit up with a message that didn't belong to me. Last night was amazing. I can still smell you on me. I blinked. Once. Twice. My heartbeat thundered so loud it drowned out the ticking clock on the wall. The message was sent from Ryan, her coworker. The timestamp said 7:04 a.m., 5 minutes ago. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe he texted the wrong person. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But then I saw her name above it, Emma. My wife. She came into the kitchen, barefoot, hair still damp from her shower, wearing the robe I had bought her for our anniversary. Her eyes widened when she saw the phone in my hand. Michael, that's not what you think. Her voice cracked, but it wasn't fear of guilt. It was fear of exposure. I knew that sound. I'd heard it before from patients in my clinic when they realized the truth was out. Then explain it, I said quietly, though my throat felt like sandpaper. She hesitated. The seconds stretched like knives. He was just joking around, she stammered. The silence between us felt alive. I set the phone down slowly and turned toward the window, watching the early light spill across the wet lawn. My reflection stared back at me from the glass, pale and foreign. How long? I asked. Her shoulders tensed. It didn't mean anything. That's not an answer. She took a step back, wrapping the robe tighter around herself. Please, Michael, I made a mistake. It was one night. I swear it's over. Her words felt like shards in my chest. I wanted to scream, to break something, but all I could do was breathe in short, uneven bursts. The room smelled like coffee and betrayal. That morning, I walked out. I didn't take much, just a duffel bag, my passport, and the photograph of us from our wedding. I didn't know where I was going, only that I couldn't stay. For weeks, she tried calling, leaving messages that went unanswered. Eventually, the calls stopped. Then the emails slowed. Then silence. And I disappeared. 5 years passed. In that time, I built a new life in a small coastal town in Oregon. I opened a modest clinic, learned to surf badly, and spent nights reading by the fire instead of listening to apologies that never ended. The air was different there. Cleaner, lonelier, but peaceful. But peace is fragile. It cracks when the past knocks on your door. That evening, the knock came as the rain began to fall. When I opened it, the world stopped moving. Emma stood there, soaked and trembling, her hair plastered to her cheeks. Time hadn't been kind to her. The warmth in her eyes was gone, replaced with something hollow. "Hi, Michael," she said softly, voice trembling. For a second, I couldn't speak. My hand gripped the doorframe as my chest tightened. "What are you doing here?" "I've been looking for you," she said, her lips quivering. "For years." Her voice was weaker than I remembered, almost fragile. "I needed to tell you something. Please, can I come in?" I hesitated, torn between anger and pity. Finally, I stepped aside. She entered, dripping rain onto the wooden floor, glancing around the room as if afraid it would vanish if she blinked. "It's nice," she murmured. "It feels like you." I said nothing. She looked smaller now, diminished somehow, as if regret had hollowed her out. Her fingers twisted the strap of her purse nervously. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said finally. "I just need you to hear me." I poured her a cup of tea and sat across from her, the fire crackling between us. "The night you left," she began, "I thought you'd come back. I thought you'd yell, or cry, or something. But you just vanished. I deserved it, I know. But the silence, God, it ate me alive." I stayed quiet, watching the flames dance. She continued, tears gathering in her eyes. "Ryan didn't mean anything. It was stupid. Drunken. I wanted to feel noticed, wanted someone to make me feel alive again. But the second you walked out that door, I realized what I destroyed." I looked at her hands. They trembled, thin and pale. I remembered those same hands years ago, steady and warm as she held mine. "Why come now?" I asked. After all this time. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded envelope. Inside was a photograph of a little girl, maybe 4 years old, with my dark hair and Emma's blue eyes. "This is Lily," she whispered. "She's your daughter." My heart stopped. I stared at the photo, my vision blurring. "She was born a few months after you left," Emma said. "I didn't know how to tell you. I tried to move on, but she kept asking about her dad. I couldn't lie to her anymore." The room seemed to tilt. I pressed my fingers against my temple, struggling to breathe. "You're saying she's mine?" "Yes. I had a paternity test done 2 years ago. She's yours, Michael." A storm of emotions tore through me. Rage, sorrow, disbelief, longing. "I wanted to find you sooner," Emma continued, tears streaming freely now. "But you disappeared completely. I finally tracked you through your old medical license." Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. I stared into the fire, the crackling flames reflecting in her tears. Part of me wanted to hold on to my anger, to remind her of what she'd done. But another part, the tired, lonely part, ached at the thought of a little girl who had my eyes and didn't know her father. "Where is she now?" I asked quietly. "In the car," Emma said. "Asleep. I didn't want to wake her unless you wanted to see her." For a long moment, I said nothing. Then I stood and walked to the window. The rain had stopped, leaving a faint mist over the trees. My reflection stared back at me again, older, harder, but alive. "Bring her in," I said. Emma nodded silently and disappeared into the rain. Moments later, she returned with a small child in her arms. The little girl blinked sleepily, her gaze meeting mine. "Hi," she murmured shyly. I knelt beside her, my throat tightening. "Hi, Lily." She smiled, a soft, innocent smile that pierced through every wall I'd built. In that moment, something inside me shifted. The pain didn't vanish, and forgiveness didn't come easily. But as Lily's tiny hand wrapped around my finger, I realized that some endings weren't about revenge or regret. They were about rediscovery. Emma stood quietly behind her, tears glistening under the dim light. I looked up at her, and for the first time in years, I didn't see the woman who broke me. I saw the mother of my child. "Stay," I said simply. And though the rain began to fall again outside, inside, the world finally felt still.